The Supreme Court confirmation hearing of Amy Coney Barrett will be dominating the headlines in Washington for weeks to come. Well, I recently sat down with a professor to discuss the nominee and really the importance of this selection by the President of the United States. Joining me today is Professor Terri Day, a constitutional law professor at Barry University. Professor Day, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, all eyes are going to be on Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett today. For folks who may not be so familiar, can you share with us who she is and what her background looks like?
Yes, she's 48 years old. She would be the youngest justice sitting on the court now. She's a little bit different from the traditional nominee because she comes from the South, the Midwest. She does not have an Ivy League law school degree, which is unusual for a Supreme Court justice. She's very family-oriented. She has 7 children, 2 of which she adopted from Haiti. Her youngest child is a special needs child. She's been married for 18 years to a lawyer who's now in private practice in Indiana, but he served as a prosecutor for 13 years. I think what's unique about her, she is unapologetic for being a mom and for the fact that religion is very central to who she is in her life. And I'm not saying she should be apologetic, but women who achieve that level of success normally put family and aside a little bit because it takes so much to get to where she is. She's also a little different in terms of her qualifications. Although she's had 2 wonderful, very prestigious clerkships, the most prestigious is with Justice Scalia on the Supreme Court. She's practiced for 2 years, and she spent most of her career as a law professor. And so that's a little bit different than most justices who have had experience in government, who have had lots of practice experience. I mean, she does have 3 years on the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals as an appellate lawyer. She's never argued an appellate case. So she's a little bit different, and I think that's one of the reasons that the conservative right like her so very much.
Yeah, she's such a fascinating candidate, but let's talk about that process. It does have a number of steps, so can you share with us what that appointment process and confirmation process, what they look like, and how that really has changed over time?
Yes. Well, the appointments process comes from the Appointments Clause in the Constitution. And the Appointments Clause says that the President shall nominate by and with the advice and consent of the Senate and appoint a Supreme Court justice. Of course, the Appointments Clause applies to all federal judges, executive officers, etc. But Supreme Court justice nominees, take center stage. Since 1789, there have been only 126 justices that have been confirmed, and 7 of those refused to serve, or didn't want to serve. The process begins with the president nominating. Then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate has a procedure, a confirmation hearing, which really has 3 stages: the pre-hearing investigative stage, the hearing itself, and then the vote in the committee whether or not to report out to the full Senate, recommendation, positive, an unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation. So then it goes to the full Senate for a confirmation vote. The process has changed a lot over the time. At the beginning, there were no standing committees or committees to refer nominees to for confirmation. So it was not unusual for a nomination to be made, go right to the Senate floor and be voted on, even within a day or a matter of days.
And Professor, I'm so sorry. There's so much to unpack here, especially with this process. It's expedited, a lot of issues, a lot of questions. I'm curious what her nomination means when it comes to those big ticket issues that impact so many people. There's a whole list of them, but, just for example, the Affordable Care Act, Roe versus Wade, environmental issues. So, again, what does her nomination mean for issues like that?
Well, I think that most people think it means that she will vote with the other 5 conservatives on the court to overturn Roe versus Wade, to overturn the Affordable Care Act. I'm not so sure that conclusion can be made. It is based on her public statements and her writing as a law professor, where she is on the public record being very critical of Roe versus Wade. She believes that life begins at fertilization and therefore abortion is immoral. She criticized Chief Justice Roberts in 2012 when he was the 5th vote to uphold the Affordable Care Act. So President Trump's campaign promise in 2016 was that he would put justices on the court that would overrule Roe versus Wade. He was determined to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. So the concern is that she will be a 6th conservative vote that will do exactly what President Trump promised.
And speaking of that, the process itself with nominating a Supreme Court justice is just incredible in and of itself, but especially, as you mentioned, President Trump, this is an election year. We're just weeks away from the November elections. It's just a fascinating process. Professor Terri Day, a constitutional law professor at Barry University, thank you so much for going in depth with us today.
Thank you.